How are you doing, Jason?
Hey, Chris. Doing well. How about you, man?
Good. Welcome to Leading and Serving.
That's right, man. We're on episode what?
29.
29.
Time is flying. I
It
know
is.
we probably keep saying that on the other end of this.
I know,
People
and
are
everybody's like, oh, this is so boring.
right.
We don't care. Just
Okay, just keep
get to
going.
the interview.
So how are you doing, my friend?
I'm doing good. I'm doing
Good.
good. We had a kiddo graduate from college this weekend,
Yeah.
and man, it was just weird.
It is that time of year,
Just
isn't it?
weird. Yeah.
Like other
And
graduations.
It just didn't feel like it was really happening, and then all of a sudden
Yeah.
it was happening, and one of my other kiddos kept looking at me like, "Dad, are you crying?" Like, nope. What's the cloudy with a chance of meatballs? Where the policeman's like, "Get back in there, dear," you know. But man, it was just a beautiful experience.
That's awesome.
You know.
That's super exciting.
She's moving on to graduate school, and so there's another one. There's more down the road. And we got
Okay.
2 sophomores, so we got a few more graduations.
Ahead of you?
Yeah. Yeah, in 2 years, we'll have 2 graduations simultaneous, and then year after that, my daughter will graduate again.
So you kind of, well, they're at the same high school. So how are you going to do that when they both go to college? Because they're both
Just
gonna-
one problem at a time,
Oh.
man. Don't.
Sorry.
I got one graduate. No, let's just.
We'll
What's
stop
going
there.
on in your life?
Well, apparently I'm trying to figure out how you get to 2 graduations at the same time. But yeah. So
Yeah, hopefully they're 2 different high schools, so hopefully they don't schedule those simultaneous.
Oh, I did forget that. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah, it could be. Well, yeah, I hope we don't have to divide and conquer on that one. That would
Yeah,
be
that would be rough.
That would kind of suck.
Okay.
So anyway,
So anyway,
good stuff.
yeah.
Good stuff.
So what are we doing today?
Well,
We don't have
overall,
some-
we're
we don't have
gonna
somebody sitting here.
no. There's no interview today. This is one of our deep dives, right?
Right.
And so we'll talk about that here in a little bit. But
Okay.
in the process, man, just wanted us to backtrack a little bit as we think about our own leadership.
Okay.
This is something that we covered way back in I think the first 3 or 4 episodes of when we started the podcast. So if you're binge listening all the podcasts trying to get caught up, this probably doesn't sound like a whole lot of time has passed, but it's been 6 months.
Yes.
And so this is something that we want to take regular inventory of. And even kind of on a weekly, maybe even monthly or quarterly basis, I wouldn't necessarily wait 6 months every time.
Yeah.
But how are you feeling? How are you? Where is what we call the peace index? Where is your peace at? That this is kind of a combined assessment of 5 major areas in our life, and that contributes to our peace of where we're at currently, where we're at today. Are we feeling like things are trending upward? Or are we feeling like things are trending downward? And if our peace index is too low, we're going to feel unrest. We're going to feel frustration. We're just not going to feel like, is this where I belong?
Right.
And so there's 5 areas that we should be continually evaluating in our lives.
Yep.
Of wondering, are we hitting on this right?
Right.
Am I in the right place? What's dragging down, and how can I shift that? How can I change that? So the number one area that we'll talk about is purpose, which coincidentally is what our deep dive is about today, right?
Right.
We're going to be talking about what is your why, what drives you. So what is your purpose? Do you feel like you are living into your purpose? Do you feel like you have the opportunity to achieve your purpose? And think about all the different areas of your life, from your family to your work to your play. Are you able to achieve and lean into purpose in all those areas?
Yep.
And give yourself a rating. So 0 to 100%. Are you 100% leaning into your purpose, or where is it along that scale? And don't think about it in terms of, like grading scale at school. That 70% is not a C rating.
Okay.
And C is just average.
Right.
No, that's we think about it in terms of health. That 100% is 100% healthy. I am 100% leaning into my. So probably the average score is somewhere in the 60, 70, 75%. And average is not bad. That just means that's where we're able to do it most of the time.
Yeah.
There's some things in our lives that probably don't lean into my purpose a whole lot there, but maybe I can discover my purpose in that activity,
right,
and stuff. And so I would really be aware if your purpose is is trending below that 60, if you're definitely below 50%, you're
Probably needs to be reevaluated.
yeah. Yeah. And so that's kind of the grading scale across all these.
Okay.
So set a number for purpose.
Okay.
What is the percent of health that you have in your purpose? The next one is people.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. How are people in your life? How are your relationships? Whether that's with your family, with your friends, with your coworkers, where you live, work, and play.
Mm-hmm.
What are these relationships like? How are they breeding health into you? Do you have a relationship that's really struggling at the moment that might push your health score down in that area? If you've got an amazing mentor that's pouring into you right now, that might help it edge up, right?
Right.
And so, kind of, just give a grade. I know I got to see a spreadsheet, names redacted, from another coach at Giant that somebody had gone through and on a spreadsheet put like every relationship they could think of. And this person was probably a guardian, pioneer kind of person, spreadsheeted every relationship and the health score of every relationship.
Oh, wow.
And then even put columns of here's what's going good and here's what's going bad.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. And then here's the action steps of how to improve that relationship and the goal for that relationship. And I'm like, wow, that's amazing.
That's intense.
Some of us are just a little more gut feeling,
Right.
But what was really cool is that a year later, the person that was coaching this leader had them do the exact same exercise again. Like gave them a blank list. Here's all the people that you gave me a year ago.
Yeah.
Rank
Where
them.
are you at?
And the person was just absolutely blown away with the growth that they saw in the year. That they had not gone back and reassessed each individual relationship, and was just blown away at how that. And I think it wasn't terrible. I think they moved from like a 70 to an 85 in people health.
Because that could be a lot of people too.
Yeah.
Depending on the person.
There were probably 25, 30 people on that spreadsheet.
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it was really cool. And so, so think through the people, think through the relationships in your life and how that affects. The third area that we want to look at is our place. Kind of the environments, whether that's go back to live, work, and play, right? How's your house doing? Where you live, how's your office, how's the business, the environments that you work in, the environments that you play in, are they helping you achieve the goals? Are you helping, is it helping you? And if you've got that stinking leaky water hot water heater,
right,
and you've not replaced it for 3 months, and you're just getting frustrated, and now you've got 12 light bulbs you got to change, and now the garage door is off center, and there's just annoyance after annoyance.
Have you been to my house?
No, that might be my the 12 light bulbs is my house. I know that. Things like that can start pushing that health meter down. That you're just, those types of things can have a burden on us.
Right.
And so another one is provision. This is kind of an easy one to think about of, are all my needs met?
Right.
Can I afford my bare essentials? Can I get some wants in life? What about luxuries? How is my provision taken care of?
Right.
And there may be some things coming down the road, like, we just talked about college.
Right. Right.
I know I've got a couple colleges to pay for and weddings and, and then our 20th anniversary is coming up and we want to take a big trip or, what are those financial goals? And if you have a plan for those can boost your score in that area. Or if you just feel like, I don't know how I'm going to handle it. Any ambiguity in that area can really start to drive that score down. And so the last place is physical health. And this is one I like to skip because it's probably the lowest on all of mine. But how are you feeling? Right. Are you taking care of yourself? And that's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual. It's all of, it's a holistic health idea.
Right.
Just determining where you're at.
Right.
Where's your happiness? Where's your joy? Do you feel that peace, within you? And so out of those 5 areas, we had purpose, people, place, provision, and personal health. Okay. For different individuals, there's probably one of those that's probably your key indicator. There's probably one that's a little bit more important than the other 4. Yeah. And that's okay. Yep. And that's normal, natural. Probably should determine which one that is and make sure that one's the healthiest. Or that one's the one that's trending up. Because that one, if you're lower in that key indicator, it could affect the other 4 because that is that's the one that means the most to you.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes, totally.
Yeah. So the idea is give yourself a health score in
Mm-hmm.
each of those 5 areas, 0 to 100. Add them together, divide by 5, and that's your
That's
peace
kind of
index.
where you're at.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
So
what-
you might be 95% in purpose,
Right.
but you know, you don't have the paychecks coming in.
Right. Right.
And
Which is a
suddenly
provision
that's
issue.
provisions pulling your overall peace index down.
Right.
You know, or you've got a client that is driving you nuts.
Yep.
You know, that's going to be in the people side of things,
Right.
and that's going to drive a score down. Or, you know, you just entered into a new relationship. You're a young individual dating, you know, just asked your girlfriend to marry you, and
Right.
man, you know, that's going to help
Boost some things up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, so be thinking through this peace index.
That's great.
This is a great
I'm glad you brought
exercise.
this back around.
Yeah,
is-
just a great exercise. I would say at least quarterly.
That's a great
You
idea.
kind of want to visit this at least quarterly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Some people do it monthly. Some kind of check in weekly.
Yeah.
You know, just especially if you've got one really low,
Mm-hmm.
you know, under 50% or something like that. Of, you know, what steps did I take this last week to improve this one? What steps am I going to take this week? You know, it's a good exercise, a good kind of assessment and evaluation of ourselves,
Great.
where we're feeling. So,
Well, I'm glad you brought all this up because we do have to talk about some fun things in our deep dive today. And
yes,
this is a good place
we're
to
going to lean into
to-
purpose. Absolutely.
to start with.
Yeah.
To try to help us make sure that this isn't a low number.
Right, right.
So-
And just a reminder, we said it early on, but somewhere in that 70 to 80% range is about where most leaders are.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can get that overall peace score 80% plus,
Yep.
man, you're at a place where you can begin pouring into others.
Right.
You know, and multiplying your health into other people. And so
That's
that's excellent. So so yeah, we're going to jump into the deep dive.
The dump
Hopefully
dive.
now we're dumpster diving. That might be a fun podcast.
There you
though.
go.
Maybe we should start another.
Right.
No, let's not. I'll help sponsor that one.
There you
So
go.
if somebody wants to dumpster dive, start a podcast, we can do that.
Okay,
I'll
sounds
help you. I'll help you structure that. Where were we? Oh yeah, we're going to do a deep dive.
You're going to deep dive in the why. Yep.
Yeah,
Let's-
and we're going to talk about that.
Sounds good. Let's jump into it.
All right, here we go. Hey Chris, how's it going?
Good, Jason. How are you?
Doing good. You ready to jump into this deep dive?
Yeah.
All
let's
right.
Do it.
This morning we are going to be talking about finding your why, and how that how that converts into basically your mission, kind of your your overarching drive.
Right, right.
What's your passion? Where are you going? You know, and
Your
stuff
purpose,
like that.
passion,
And so,
all those. Yeah.
yeah. So we're going to be kind
So-
of diving into that.
I do want to say though, I want to start off right off the bat with something. Like what we need to recognize is so many people have come at it with this level. And I think at some level, even when I started, it was like, so what's your why? And my why was, I wasn't sure what my why was to begin with. But then I've heard multiple people say, oh, well, I need to make more money. Or I want to make $1 million. Or I want to be rich. Or I want to be... And always ties to the financial side.
Right.
And I would say that your why does have a financial aspect to it.
Sure.
But I would say most times than not, it's also deeper than that. Would you say?
Well, yeah, because I think we've mentioned this on previous episodes for sure of, financial goals are great.
Right.
But in the end, that being your ultimate bottom, that is your ultimate driver of success is a
Right.
financial goal.
Right.
What happens when you hit it?
Right.
Is there another?
Like, what do you just shift it? Do you like add another financial goal to the mix? And I don't know that. I think when you get there and you hit that financial goal, then you kind of feel like this little emptiness or this little struggle to move forward and trying to figure out what to do next.
Right.
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 So it's got to be. You're not. And I think I mentioned this before in another podcast. Like, the goal is not to go out and destroy another company. The goal is
Right.
not to go out and make so much money that you're got money flowing out of your pocket and you just don't know what to do with it.
Exactly.
The goal can't be um, stuff like that, where just making sure that yes, it's got to be somewhat tangible, but no, it needs to be something not just financial. It needs to be something deeper.
Yeah.
And like I said, the financial side can be part of it. Don't get me wrong. There's going to be financial goals to make sure you can hit your measurements on growing your business, right?
Right.
Because at some level, in some businesses, that's all you can do is bank on those numbers and measure from that.
Right.
But losing sight of just being money, I don't think is the answer for the why.
Right. Right. And that's why we started the podcast, Leading and Serving.
Right.
That in the end, money, power, control, status, popularity, any of those things are empty drivers in the end.
They are. They truly are.
You know, you can strive after them for a time, but what our belief is that when it comes down to it, those things fade. Those things are empty. They don't bring the true fulfillment that we truly want in life.
Right.
And so by serving others and fighting for the highest good of others, then we are truly leaning into things that matter.
Right.
You know.
So now that we've got the empty things out there, just to because I wanted to clarify that, now that we got the empty things out there that we know from, and I don't know if you know this or not, but I'm sure there's other business owners that that have shot for those things and may be in a little bit of a struggle because of it. Because they were successful, and then they ran into these problems.
And we've talked about how money is a tool. It's a vehicle. It enables us to have the impact that we truly want.
Right.
It
is totally agree with that.
Yeah.
So now that we've got the empty things that we potentially could see as being a problem, now let's dive into the why. Let's dive into, okay, what drives you as a person? What makes you happy? What responsibilities do you have on your plate that you need to satisfy? What, why do you do what you enjoy doing?
Right.
Those kind of things.
And I think on some level it intersects with the problem you see in culture and society and people, and you have a product or service that you feel is the solution to that problem or need.
Right.
And so your why is kind of born in that intersection. And some of that's going to be, I think there's a couple different levels that, we've talked about the hobbyist that turns entrepreneur, and their hobby becomes their, it's their passion, but it also becomes their paycheck.
Right.
And so the why for that type of entrepreneur that's, I absolutely love woodworking. I would do that, 25 hours a day.
Right.
And if I could get paid doing it, all the better.
Right.
And so your why flows out of a passion for your craftsmanship, right? Or there's, I think there's the people who, entrepreneurs who maybe see a common good, that, I can provide this solution to our community through, to our customers through this product or service. And making that product or service isn't quite like the hobbyist, right? Let's stay on the, idea of craftsmanship, right? I can finish basements. I can build staircases. I can, put decks on houses. I can do, I can re-roof a home. But, while I enjoy that handiwork,
right,
my passion is that I am helping people, achieve their dreams.
Right.
I'm helping people, guard their investments and grow their investment in their home or their business, or whatever that might be.
Or fix a problem in their leaky roof.
Yeah.
I
help people in that moment of crisis.
Right.
And so, I think that's another layer of people that, your why behind what you do isn't as closely tied to your product or service.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yes. And, I was talking to a mom this weekend who was talking about her boys. And, in trying to encourage our kids, we're trying to look for these things that drive them. Because at some level, some of this is almost borderline innate, right? Some of this is, as you grow up, you realize there's things about your life that you just enjoy. Like you said, hey, what if I could do woodworking 25 hours a day? Oh, and by the way, I want to pay you for it. And you're like, wait, I can get paid to do this?
Right.
Right? At some level, and it's not just a hobby. Then it turns into this thing where your child has or well, for her, like I was talking to her about her boys and my kids as well. Like in my kids' growing up years, like I'm recognizing things that they enjoy doing just because they enjoy doing it, not
Yeah.
because they're trying to make a money, not because they're trying to find their next job, but because they just enjoy doing it and they enjoy. My one daughter enjoys babysitting. I know the mom I was talking with, her boys are, some of them, one of them's more hands-on. And so recognizing those gifts and things that are going on in the kids' life, as I think is very instrumental, as well as when we get older, trying to understand our own life and trying to understand the things that we enjoy, those gifts, those things that run
Right.
almost borderline innate,
Right.
that are giving us. And I wish somebody, I guess I'm passionate about this because I wish somebody would have helped me understand when you ask the question why, it's not that simple. Like, I need you to sit down and think
Right.
about this for a minute, because this is things that are running through your life and are at some level, they're almost a common thread that goes through your life.
Right.
You just didn't realize it. I mean, how many times have you gone through life and done a job just because you needed a paycheck? I mean,
Right. Right.
And don't get me wrong, we all have to do that at some times. But when you get in and you think about starting a business where you're making a very conscientious decision to start and help other people or do something for other people, you need to recognize the things about yourself at some level prior to that
Right.
conversation.
Right. Yeah. I heard it expressed, the Venn diagrams, they have multiple circles and then they overlap, right?
Right.
Finding that core passion in our life, that core purpose, is outlined through four areas. One is, what do people need?
Right.
And if they're willing to pay for it, that can be a vocation, that can be a job, that can be a career. People need it, I can do it, done.
Right.
Are you good at it? That's the fourth thing. Do people need it? Can you pay for it? Can you are they willing to pay for it? And and then are you really good at it?
Right.
Do you have a skill level and excellence? And then the fourth area is it something that you love?
Yeah.
That you love doing, kind of like the hobbyist.
Right.
I just absolutely love doing this. But if people aren't willing to pay for it,
Right.
then it might just be a hobby.
It might just stay a hobby.
You
Right.
know? Or like I've always wanted to take more classes in like drawing and painting. I just think that would be peaceful, and I love sketching when I get a chance to do it, but I don't take the time and blah, blah, blah. But I don't think I'm good at it. And so people still aren't, I might love it.
Right.
People might be willing to pay for a really nice painting.
Right.
I don't know that I'm good enough to get paid for that.
Right. I mean,
and so
as a new potential business owner, right? You're trying to balance out there. Whether is this my hobby or is this my my future gig?
right. And if you can find the convergence of all four of those,
Right.
this is something that people need.
We didn't say this was going to be easy, did we?
No. This is something people need. That's
Right.
the first. Something that I'm good at. People are willing to pay for, and I love doing it. If you can find a convergence of all four of those, you're in your sweet spot.
Right.
You're like in the center of your influence, of your skill, of your profession, of your, if you can find that, man, that is a powerful why for you.
I would take on, add another aspect to that, which is sometimes the people around you can see that better than you can.
That's true.
Ask those questions to the people you trust.
That's true.
Ask them, go, hey, you've seen what I do, or what I do.
Right.
You know me, have known me long enough. You know what I'm capable of. I mean, even a spouse. Like, I know that my wife, many times I've had to ask her, hey, what do you think about this idea? I'm always hesitant to ask it because I don't know if I want the answer.
Right.
Right. But I also know that at any point she'll be completely honest with me and tell me hey, and I mean, same with you. Like I've asked you many questions as well that I've got, hey, Jason, what do you think of this? And sometimes I've gotten to a point now where that question is no longer scary. I just need the answer, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you first start with those questions, sometimes they feel uncomfortable. You might not sure you want the answer.
Right.
But then you get to the point where you're like, I need the answer because I also know that that's going to pour into what's going to shape my why, or why, because because sometimes I don't always know myself as well as I think I do.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. Now, so knowing your why, in corporate language,
Right.
boils down to your mission statement.
It does.
Right. And so, we have this perception that mission statements you should gain ultimate clarity on it. You should set it, and then, it should drive forever. Right.
Right.
And I've heard one description of a mission statement really should be a bringing together of what you do and why you do it. So I do X because Y. And I think one of the things that we need to be willing to do as entrepreneurs and business leaders and such is our what can change. That my why is consistent. I want to provide for my family,
Right.
and I want to impact others so that they are better. Whatever that might be.
Right.
I'm not clear on mine.
Right. Well,
I've got
I was
a
just thinking
bunch
about-
of different irons in the fire,
Right.
and I'm trying to figure out, do I have this overarching why that connects all of the different pursuits I'm in,
Right.
or do I have individual ones for each one? And so at the bottom, I think our why really is consistent. It's what we do that changes.
Right. That's good
that
call.
I do this in this environment because of the same core reason, and I
Right.
do this in this environment because of the same core reason.
So
whether
your
that's-
why for each one of your businesses needed to reflect that core.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, and
It's gotta involve that
yeah,
for you.
and my core has something to do along the lines of, well, kind of like, I don't know, is it the reverse? The reverse of when you go camping in the mountains.
Yeah.
It's leave no trace.
Yes.
Or, you stay at a friend's house and it's like, I want to leave it better than I found it,
Yep,
kind of thing.
yep.
I think that's kind of part of my core is whatever interaction I have with people, I want them to walk away feeling like there's some type of measured improvement in their life because of their interaction with me.
Right.
And I hope to make people's lives better. See, I'm still trying to figure out the
process.
language.
Yeah, no, it's good.
Whether that's related to coaching or whether that's relating to pastoring or starting a new nonprofit or,
Or even this podcast.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I served at Red Robin for 4.5 years. I think that was still my core was, we're doing this through food and, I hope you tip me well, sure.
Yep.
But, I want you to walk out of this place feeling like you had a good experience in your life. Was, maybe momentarily because of a restaurant, but
Yeah.
improved,
Well, and I think that for Stillwater, we have all that stuff lined out. We went through a process and came up with it. And I also think that for those that can come up with it, it might not be right away, right?
Right,
If you're
right.
starting off from completely clean slate, recognize that you might be. There might be a change or two, but more than
Yeah.
likely the basics are going to be there at some level. And I think at some point, once you've figured out what that is, it's easier to say no, which is kind of a funny thing because you get to a point where at some point you're going to want to say, hey, you know what? That's not really quite in our wheelhouse, and we're just not sure. We don't think we want to do that.
Right.
And at that point, is a kind of very freeing setup when you've recognized, hey, I don't want to do that because it's just not what we're fit for, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So, I love that it is. I don't enjoy that it's hard to come up with. Don't get me wrong, but I think it is once you get there and recognize it for what it is, then it's also freeing it moving
Yeah.
forward.
I mean, like for Stillwater, I mean, if we just kind of take some of what we do and put it in the spotlight, if you don't mind.
No.
For Stillwater, you could say, your mission is, we make the most beautiful decks, basements, and bathrooms.
Yeah.
That could be a mission statement.
Right.
But that's really just kind of what you do.
Right.
Why do you do it?
Right.
Why do we partner with families? And I like what y'all kind of boiled down to was, thinking about the journey of the customer and, home renovations and things like that, what that means emotionally,
Right.
what that means, to the disruption of the home during that time. And, you guys came up with the line of, we take the chaos out of your home renovations.
Right.
We're your partners. We come alongside you, and this isn't a us versus you. This is a how can we serve you? How can we make this
Right.
better for you?
And we also, in that process, we recognize that we were walking into people's sanctuary or their home, their sacred spot where, the last thing we want them to feel is the chaos, in the midst of trying to change some things up. And don't get me wrong, construction is somewhat chaotic sometimes in the fact that changes have to be made. But if we can minimize that and be able to, best get them through that as easy as possible, even knowing that construction is what it is. Yeah. That's our goal. That's our mission. That's our happy place. Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And I mean, I think if we can guard ourselves against having a mission statement that is just purely what we do, like some of the greatest companies, I mean, who have done brilliant at marketing and having a solid mission, like for example, Nike, they're, of course, their tagline, their slogan is just do it. Right. That's, but that tagline is born in their mission statement, which is not, we make the best shoes in the world.
Right.
We make more shoes than anybody else.
Right.
Their mission statement is to bring innovation and inspiration to athletes all over the world.
That's cool.
I mean, that's, their vehicle is their product.
Right.
Their vehicle is what they do.
Yes.
And, I mean, Nike, did they start with just shoes? Was that their first product?
I don't know. You're probably speaking into my area.
I don't know
the answer to.
I don't know. But my point is, whatever their first was, their what has changed over the years. Mm-hmm. They've done, they've always had a core, shoe line, but they've tried clothing.
They're into socks. They're into shoes. They're into pants.
They're starting equipment. The golf clubs, the soccer balls.
That's true.
I mean, they're doing, they've gradually increased their what.
Right.
That if their what was, we're just going to make the best shoes on the planet.
Right.
Then 20 years later, somebody goes, hey, we can make golf clubs too.
Right.
No, we can't.
Right.
And so the innovation and inspiration is their why. Mm-hmm. Why do we make the best shoe on the planet?
Yeah.
So that we can inspire athletes.
Just worldwide. To think that they started, I mean, like if they didn't start out with shoes, but say they had to start out with one product, like it's amazing how big that company has probably gotten since the beginning of time to this point and where they're implementing what
and we
doing.
See all the success.
Yes.
How many product launches were fails along the way?
Right.
I'd be curious. I wonder if there's articles written on that.
That's a good question.
If you're listening and you know these things, hook us up.
Yeah, please do.
Because clearly we're just shooting in the dark on this.
Right.
So, we're good.
This is okay. Right. But it's good to see the thought process behind it. That's a good idea.
But I mean, even if we go back to
well, I mean, every business owner, right? Every business owner probably started something that failed, and had to learn through something. With that. And I tell people all the time, like, if you fail at something, yes, it probably came at a cost, right?
Yeah.
But so does school, so does college, so does most everything in life. Mm-hmm. What are you taking away from it? Like, are you going to go back and pay that bill again, or have you learned enough from it that you're not going to go back and do that again and just try to grow from it?
Right.
Yes. Sorry,
so
tangent.
I mean, it's okay. So it's okay to kind of let our what vary, mm-hmm. and we experiment and try things, but it should always be linked to our why. Mm-hmm. And like you said, I think that helps us say no.
Right.
I think it helps us.
Keep that clarity.
Yeah. That even, I mean, like when COVID hit.
Right.
And as a church, we've got a pretty solid why statement, right?
Right.
It's from the Bible, and Jesus said it, and so we kind of
stick to it.
We don't get a lot of innovation around that because it's kind of Jesus, right?
Right.
But when COVID hit, all of these pressures, all of these thoughts, now we got to shift online. Now we got to do this. We got to do that. We got to, all of these things kind of boiled up of our what was thrown out the window.
Right.
That's how we were doing our mission was thrown out the window. And it was amazing how many times we're trying to funnel, we started with 20 ideas, then it was 15, then we're down to 8. And now we're down to the last 3 ideas going, which one do we do? Which one do we focus on? And then we think about our why. And then we think about, even beyond that, our core values.
Right.
Of saying that when we do this, we want to make sure we incorporate these core values.
Right.
We just there were a couple times we just went, oh, we already decided this is how we were going to do things.
Right.
Why did we spend all this time?
Oh, wow. Yeah.
We could do option B and C, but clearly A is the one that aligns with our mission and our values. So we're going to do A.
Nice.
And we spent a lot of time circling a drain that we didn't need to circle,
Wow.
And so when we have clarity around these things, it can help us when these disruptions come.
Right.
Not hopefully we're done with worldwide pandemic type stuff,
right.
but a war in Ukraine that affects our the economy, or gas prices, or this or that. We can fall back on our why, and why are we doing this? And if it doesn't align with that, don't do it.
All the more reason why you need to make sure that you have it, right? So so that you can use it as a place to bounce things off of,
right?
So that you're not spinning in the drain. Huge. That is a huge. I know that's probably insight I've gotten in the past, but it's definitely great.
Yeah.
Follow up.
Yeah. So how do we narrow things down? Since we're talking about circling the drain, right?
Right. Well,
when it comes down to that why of, at the end of the day, this really is kind of my unmovable rock.
Right.
I heard is a fellow, can't think of the right word, guide with Giant that I'm a part of. He uses an exercise called 25 and 25.
Okay.
That there's some research, I guess. Another thing I haven't looked into deeply, but he said, there's some research that our brains can really focus on a task deeply for about 25 minutes.
Really?
And then we need just a quick, maybe it's just a quick breather. We stand up, walk around the office, and then come back and focus again, or, take a walk around outside or whatever. But he said for 25 minutes, we can set our phone away. We can close our laptop screens.
Right.
And he said, grab a piece of paper and a pen, because there's something about the analog connection that just helps this moment.
Really?
Don't do it on a screen. Don't do it on your phone. So piece of paper and, and a pen or pencil.
Yep.
And in 25 minutes, write down 25 words, phrases, things that communicate your why. And you're not wordsmithing. You're not trying to, make sure you get all the bases covered. Just let it flow.
Right.
And set a timer, 25 minutes, write down 25 things. 3 words, 5 words, 7 words, 8 words, whatever it takes, to get this across of going back to what we were saying about Stillwater earlier of, this is a family sanctuary. I want to treat it with respect.
Right.
Just write things down like that. Just brainstorm 25 things in 25 minutes. And then when the 25 minutes is over, do your little stretch,
right?
Get up and do your thing, and then come back and start looking for ways to narrow that down.
Yeah.
Look for common threads. You might have 15 of those 25 that have a very similar common thread, and you're like,
right,
I'm seeing it now.
Right.
And
it's funny you should bring this up, because at some level we did this with with a coach that we were using.
Yeah.
And
yeah,
we
exactly.
did similar thing where we all sat in a room, all the people that were, able to speak into this.
Yeah. For you as the leadership team talking about the entire business.
Right.
Yeah.
And then we came up with a list, and we just, hey, what are some of the, and we happen to be, I was thinking about core values when we were talking about this, but which I kind of think could also help with a why, you know what I mean? So we sat down and made a list, and then we said, okay, what are these words? Are any of these alike or so close alike that you could combine them? And so that you have this one word that covers both those things, and broke it down like that. And we came down with our top 5.
Yeah.
And it was,
I think that process was what? Kill, combine, and keep. Right?
That sounds about
you might
right.
look through that 25 and you're like, that was good, but that's not the core.
Right.
It feels like that's on the edge. Kill
Right.
it. Scratch it off. Erase it. Remove it. Right?
Right.
Look for the common thread. Combine.
Yep.
Like, number 2, 8, 14, and 23.
Are all
They're
very
kind of
similar.
basically the same thing, just in different ways. So how can I, let's combine that into a little
Which
more
one of these
succinct.
words do we like the best?
And then you see one, you're like, I want to keep that.
Right.
If you can winnow that list of 25 down to, say, what, 10?
I think,
10 or
it's
less?
like 5 to 10.
Yeah, if you can get somewhere in that 5 to 10 range, then take it to a trusted friend.
Yeah.
your spouse, to a business partner, to, a good, a mentor, a coach, something like that, and say, what do you see in me? What do you see in this business? What communicates to you? That if you heard this, you'd be like, oh, wow, that's...
One of the blessings I had was the fact that there was more than just me in that room having that conversation. So that I was able to tease it out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. But what we didn't know is, even though we had started the business and I hadn't come up with all these details, it was running in the background for all of us.
Yes.
So what I didn't know was that all these core values, all our why, and all these things were running in the background, and we just hadn't put words on it. So
exactly.
Once we put words on it, that made a world of difference, because then we had a reference point. It wasn't just one of those things that was out in space that we kind of knew. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, exactly. If you're working it with a team, you'll feel those.
And I'm not
shared
saying
values
that you should start a business and then do it the way I did it, because I think it would have been sometimes easier to potentially bring on people knowing knowing that these were our values, if that makes sense.
Right.
Instead of just...
Because then those values help you evaluate the people you're bringing on the team.
Right. Yes. So, which is all the more important why we're stressing on the idea that, hey, bring up with your why, come up with your core values. These are things that are huge to help you move forward.
Right. All right. So we want to encourage you to discover your why.
Yes.
Throw some things on paper.
Yep.
Run it past people.
Yep.
Really try and just dig deep of, but why?
Right.
And if you get something out there and you can ask that question one more time, but why do I do that? Mm-hmm. And there's another layer, well, then go to that next layer.
Right.
And when you hit something that you're like, there is no more why behind this, you've hit that core level. And so, throw some things on paper, ask people around you.
And I would say it's okay if you don't get it right the first time.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I feel like this is somewhat of a work in progress. Just kind of like business. Like, you're not going to know everything out of the gate.
Exactly.
I didn't know everything out of the gate.
I mean, how many books, podcasts, radio shows, everything is out there saying you have to have a mission and vision and values for your business.
Which is crazy, because I remember a class talking about this very thing. And I still started a business and didn't start it with it.
Right. So the moral of the story is, you need to get this.
Right.
You don't have to get it. You don't have to have it on day one.
Right.
That it may take a little time to develop and fully, because this is hard work.
It is.
Of looking inside of what is my why at the bottom. Why do I want to make $1 million this year?
Right.
Why?
Right.
Well, is it so I can pad my pocket? Is it so I can buy the boat? Is it so I can, benefit clean water?
Right.
In Africa.
Right.
If that's your why behind $1 million, awesome. That, keep digging deep.
Right.
Keep digging deep. Why do you truly want what you want? Mm-hmm. And
so true.
And then let that empower your products, your services, how you select your team members, how you deal with customers and clients, that those things can really empower you to lead well, to serve others well, and grow your business well.
That's perfect, Jason. I'm glad. And thank you for the recap. I enjoyed this today. I needed this today, apparently.
Well, now I got to go do some hard work, because I think I have a why at least in each of my realms that I work in. But, I still feel like there's one more layer of why. Yeah. Why do I do all of these things combined?
Maybe
and I
you
think
should just write it down and then run with it.
Should I do 25 and 25 when we get done with this?
Maybe.
I might be doing that. Awesome. I love it. Well, thanks for digging deep on this.
Thank you.
And you guys give us a like, subscribe, comment, send us an email.
Yeah,
we'd love to hear. Honestly, I'd love to hear some people's whys.
Oh, that'd be great.
That would be cool. And so if you would like to shoot us a comment or something like that and let us know, here's why I do what I do.
That'd be awesome.
That'd be really cool, because that just really hits to the core of why we're doing this podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you next week.
Sounds good. Next time.
Later.